fantasy show that's going to be featured by not only me but also PML fantasy members. Today we have my co-host for the whole season and my partner in crime when it comes to handling all PML fantasy football related. We got Fallen. Fallen, introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, how's it going, guys? We're going to kick off the Fantasy League for Season 2. I like all the participation, and we're going to try to get everyone who wants to participate in. We're doing a small sample size for this season, see how it goes, but our goal is to get as many people in that wants to participate as possible. So hopefully you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to leave anybody out. And we also got a special guest, somebody that actually hopped on the fantasy football pretty late. We had a dropout and he hopped in. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's good, Jack? I know what it is. This is main man, drama man. Salute to the PML family. Shout out to the Game of Wild Black Squad. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know how it is.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here, Drama. And thank you for, participating and showing some interest in the PML fantasy football because I think it's going to be a fun league. I'm going to pull up I already have the rules and the regulations up. So basically, this is, for those of you that don't know, last year we ran a draft pick'ems, kind of like DraftKings, and then whoever had the highest score would win the points. This year is going to be a little different. This year we're going to do a full fantasy league where the division winner gets the points and then the champion of the whole league after the season gets the points as well. So the draft rules are pretty simple. It's going to be a snake draft starting from 1 to 10 since we have 10 teams, and then it's going to go 10 to 1 in the second round and so on and so forth. Every team will be required to draft 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, a defense, and a kicker. You don't need to draft a backup defense or a backup kicker. That's all up to you. And then also drafting a player on your team will not be allowed. So that's the big rule, because if you have somebody that's involved in your game that night on your fantasy lineup, then you will get 0 points for that player. So let's say I am playing Seattle, but I drafted DK Metcalf. If I play DK Metcalf the week I play Seattle, I'm getting 0 points for DK Metcalf because it's easy to say I'm down by, I'm either up by a lot or down by a lot. Might as well let DK Metcalf score so I could get a chance at more fantasy points, you know what I mean? So that's basically why that rule's in place. Every team's going to have 14 slots to fill, including their starters. No one can carry one of their players on their PML, one of their players from PML on their roster. And the lineup's going to look like 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, 1 defense, and 1 kicker. So it's pretty standard lineup as well. And this is the point system that we're going to go off of. Pretty standard, but it's going to be a PPR league. So you're going to get a point per reception for those of you that never played fantasy football. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. We'll talk about the rewards too. Content rewards. Your points that you're going to get if you win your conference is 5. So at the end of the season, if you won your conference, you get 5 content points. If you win the championship, it doesn't matter what place you come in, but if you win the championship, you're going to get 20 content points. Now, this is just for Season 1. I might talk to JT about adding certain things, like if you have the most points in the league, maybe get some content points for that, and certain things like that. We'll see if we could add later on. But for Season 1, that's how it's going to roll. 5 points for a conference win, and then 20 points for a championship at the end of the season. You guys got anything to add? Anything you noticed that you might want to add in the future, or anything like that?
No, I think you hit on it, and I was actually going to mention it in case you didn't. I think it would be interesting for, those extra things, because a lot of times you'll see that, you may have the best record overall towards the end, but you don't win the championship, or you may score the most points, but then, you may have a week or two where somebody else scores some of those points. So just like maybe like I don't know, one point for the overall, best record, the most points, that kind of stuff. In my actual like football fantasy league, we have stuff like that. So like whoever scores the most points gets like $25. Just little kind of things.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes
Nothing.
everybody.
Yeah,
That just makes
nothing.
everybody each week want to play.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing huge like you said. Something that makes everybody still participate through the full season. Also, for anybody that does fall off, we already got a couple people on the waiting list that want to join the league. If you do fall off, I'm gonna replace you the next season. If every week you're on time, post your lineups, send it to me or Fallen, and we have no complaints, then you'll stay in the league next season, and then it's another chance for you to get content points. But if you don't participate and I have to chase you down and pretty much blow off the league, then we're going to replace you and bring in somebody from the waiting list that wants to participate. But that's pretty much it for the rules and regulations. We did a little thing for everybody, top 5 of each position that we see in the PML right now. And then we also did a little bit of a mock draft. I don't know if you guys have my stream up right now, but I'm right on my list currently. So you take a look at my quarterbacks. I got Justin Herbert. I got Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford, Lamar Jackson, and David Carr. Then I got, for running backs, Phillip Lindsay, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara to round that off. For my wide receivers, I got Henry Ruggs III, Tyreek Hill, Terry McLaurin, Will Fuller V, and then Odell Beckham Jr. And for my tight ends, I got Evan Ingram, George Kittle, Darren Waller, Devin Asiasi, Eric Ebron to round off the tight ends. And then for the kickers, I got Aldrich Rosas, Greg Joseph, Michael Badgley, Justin Tucker, Brett Mayer. And then for my defense, I got Patriots, Colts, Lions, Saints, and Vikings. Kind of just rattled through them real quick. Anybody specifically on my list that you want to talk about?
If I could, there's some guys that you left off your list. I don't know if we're going to go through each of our lists individually.
Yeah, we are. We'll go through everybody, each of our lists. We didn't do it for no reason. You know what I mean? We're gonna go through everybody's list.
All right. Well, then I'll wait till I go to my list. But there's a couple of key guys you left off. Kind of interesting to me. But I'll go.
All right. So you got a couple of guys that are on your list that are not on my list that you think should be there.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and I'll start with the quarterback position.
Yep.
Let me get to my list right quick. Pull it up. Quarterbacks that I had was Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Derek Carr. And of course, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson goes without saying. They're running, they're throwing the ball. Joe Burrow last year had high usage throwing the ball to John Ross III with the deep ball, also throwing it to Joe Mixon on the backfield. Derek Carr, Raiders were very active in the draft at the wide receiver position. I forget who he drafted, but I know he's got another speedy guy to go alongside Henry Ruggs, so they're going to for sure take the top off the defense. The running back position, this is where I believe you left some guys off. I have Derrick Henry, Phillip Lindsay, Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, and Joe Mixon. I noticed you didn't. I don't know if you said Dalvin Cook. I heard you had Austin Eckler on there. You had Alvin Kamara. But the Vikings drafted a quarterback this year. He had a hard time with Kirk Cousins last year, so he's going to have a rookie quarterback. There's going to be a lot of uses of Dalvin Cook out of the Minnesota Vikings. Joe Mixon, of course, is 4-game suspension, but when he comes back, he's going to be getting a lot of uses out of that backfield in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think the reason I left out Dalvin Cook is, so I've been in this league for a while too, and I've noticed V-Star or Superstar, whatever he wants to call himself now. I've noticed he's a better passer than he is a runner. Like he's a top tier guy, but it seems to be more of a passing attack than a running attack. Because I think when he had the Redskins last year, he was never heavy on the run. Um, I don't know if that's just something I noticed, but that's kind of why I kept Dalvin Cook. But what you said about the rookie quarterback, it would make a lot of sense for him to lean heavy run, especially with a weapon like Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, precisely.
I did notice on
Like,
your list specifically, drama, that there was a lot of divisional guys like you mentioned Joe Burrow. It's neither on my list or Fallen's list, which we'll get to in a second. Um, Even Joe Mixon and John Ross, neither of those two were on our list, and that's probably something you have better knowledge of because you have to face him twice a year. You know the usage and how much he's thrown to him. It's just something that didn't pop out to us. Is that something you want to talk about?
well, I think maybe you guys might have left off Mixon and John Ross because they're suspended for the first 4 games of the season due to their high usage last season.
Mm.
But just knowing the way that the Bengals likes to play, Joe Burrow is going to be swinging that ball early in the season. He's upgraded his offensive line. Joe Mixon's going to be out for the beginning of the season. But he's got some weapons on offense, some weapons at the wide receiver position. So I definitely think Joe Burrow is going to be going to show a lot of improvement and get high usage this season.
Yeah, I could see so they're suspended for 4 games, which I did not know that. But Joe Mixon and John Ross could be very essential guys when it comes to playoff time. Like somebody that you take that nobody else is going to take because of the suspension, but when you have them in the lineup, it's going to be very key to you winning games and stuff like that. So that could be like more of a sleeper pick late in rounds because I think the fact that they're suspended is going to scare off a lot of people. What do you think about that, Fallen?
Um, yeah, they like as you alluded to. I didn't put them on my list, and I think that personally, I think John Ross is going to be an afterthought this season. I think that what he drafted, Jalen Waddle. I think he's going to be the one who gets all the targets. I think when John Ross does come back, it's actually going to free up Waddle to get even more targets. So, and same with Mixon. I think that 4 games away is going to throw people off. But later on in the season, it could help. But I don't think that they're top 5 in either of their positions. I actually thought it was really interesting that Drama left off Austin Eckler.
Yeah, Austin Eckler is somebody I was definitely looking at because from what I realized, like I didn't follow PML thoroughly, but when I joined the league, I obviously went through all the stats and stuff like that, and I noticed that Austin Eckler was at the top of one of the top running backs last season, and from what I know from the Chargers user, he is a really good user and had a good season, so I don't see anything changing for Austin Eckler. It seems like he really could run the ball.
Yeah, Austin Eckler led the league in touchdowns with 36 and was third last season with 2,200 rushing yards. And you got to figure he didn't have any abilities. Now he's a superstar ability and has grab and go and playmaker ability, which is an interesting ability that will get the receiver up the field as soon as you hit that R3 stick. So I think that's going to, especially in man, that's going to get Eckler open. So I think he could have an even better season this year than last year.
Oh yeah.
The reason why I left off of Eckler off is because I really think that guys are going to be keying in on him against the Chargers. The Chargers made a lot of moves this offseason, got rid of Mike Williams. He still has Keenan Allen out there on the outside. But I think that people are going to stack the box against him and force him to get the ball to either Hunter Henry or Keenan Allen. I think it's enough tape out there to where they're not going to let Austin Eckler run wild like he did last season. Also, the AFC West has a tougher matchup this season with the guys that they're playing. So I honestly kind of forgot about Austin Eckler, but also I think it's going to be harder for him to get loose like he did last season.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the offense and how he moved some key guys. I think Mike Williams, he actually moved him to me. I think Mike Williams was a really good guy for him. I'm going to go look at his stats real quick. I think he had over 10 touchdowns, but I could be mistaken.
he had a good bit, and actually that's a really good point, Drama, because all he has on offense is Keenan Allen at the wide receiver position. He's got a couple guys that are around the 68 overall that are speedy guys, and then you got Rico Gafford, who's 97 speed, which he may try to throw in, but when you look at the receivers here, no one really, you kind of don't look at them and try to game plan. But again, if you do stack the box, and he has Rico Gafford on the side and you try to press, that could be an easy touchdown or easy streak. So kind of got to be careful there.
Yeah,
Although, never mind, Rico Gafford has 56 release, so.
Yeah, I think
he's going to get pressed.
Unless Madden glitches out.
Yeah,
he's
getting clamped at the line. But I think I could see the Chargers going with a lot of spread and trying to open up that box for Austin Eckler, and I could see a lot of usage out of the backfield now that he doesn't have, the wide receivers as weapons. He still has Keenan Allen, but he doesn't have Mike Williams. He did have 12 touchdowns, I'm looking right now, and over 1,000 yards receiving, so he had a really good season for him. I'm going to take it.
And I think, and then the other, you want me to go over my list now?
Yeah, we could go over your list.
Yeah, you can go over your list, yeah.
Okay. So I had Derek Carr, Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert, and Cam Newton at the quarterback position. And then at the halfback position, I had Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Philip Lindsay, Derrick Henry, and Saquon Barkley. I thought it was interesting that Matthew Stafford wasn't on Drama's list either. Stafford had a really good season last season. I think that's where our list differed.
And one thing I noticed about your list that I stood away from was Cam Newton. Nothing against Nat, but at this point, you don't know who Nat's gonna go with. He's really liking Felipe Franks that he drafted, and who knows, he could end up being the starter week one because Nat, he doesn't really need that quarterback to be that good because he runs the ball so well, and he's so good at scheming guys open that he doesn't have to really worry about throwing into tight windows, if that makes any sense. That's kind of why I stood away from Cam Newton, because I don't know if he's going to be the starter there. But it is interesting that that Drama left Matthew Stafford off his list. Given Cookie Boy and the way he plays the game, is there a specific reason that you left Stafford off the list, or is it somebody like Eckler you really you weren't thinking of at the time?
Well, no, I left Stafford off the list just because the guys I listed: Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Derek Carr. These are guys who improved their wide receiving core throughout the draft. A lot of Stafford's success was throwing for DeAndre Swift last year. And it's not that I didn't, it's apples and oranges, I guess. I mean, he could easily swap out Joe Burrow for Matthew Stafford. For my liking, just looking at the rosters and looking at the weapons that are available to these quarterbacks, I put Joe Burrow in there over Matthew Stafford.
I see. And I noticed on your list too, Fallen, that you had the 1-2 punch in Kenny Galladay, who rounded off your wide receivers. I'm going to pull that up real quick. So
for wide receivers.
Go ahead. Round off your wide receivers.
I had Henry Ruggs, Will Fuller, Tyreek Hill, Marquise Brown, and then Kenny Galladay.
Yeah, so Kenny Galladay, that's somebody that wasn't on my list nor Drama's list. Kenny Galladay, that's somebody I wasn't even thinking about, to be honest. But I did have Matthew Stafford on my list, and taking a look, I don't think I had one receiver of Matthew Stafford's on my list as far as wide receivers and tight ends. So I guess I'm just banking on him to spread the ball around is more of the way I was thinking about.
With Galladay, when I was looking at my receivers, it was more in production of last season and what I think they can do this season. And Galladay had 86 catches, 1,700 yards, and 19 touchdowns. And then you figure he's 92 speed. I think he's gonna get away from guys. And I think Stafford has superstar ability now, which he didn't have last season. And actually, they're really good abilities, and they're both of the dead-eye abilities and pocket dead-eye and inside dead-eye. So I think he's going to rely on Kenny Galladay more so. And then he also drafted his rookie. So if someone's keen on the rookie or keen on Galladay, one of them are going to get open. That's going to help Stafford out as a top quarterback.
Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, I saw his stats. I pulled up his stats. A really good season from him, and seems like people might know it's coming, but it's one thing to know it's coming, then it's another thing to stop it. I don't know if people are willing for somebody like Cookie who knows how to use all those players. Like there's certain users that you could double up a wide receiver and you're going to clamp them up because that's what they rely on. Somebody like Cookie, I think he's able to hurt you in multiple ways where you can't just try to clamp up Kenny Galladay because it's going to open up more space for other people. So I don't see people really just honing in on Kenny Galladay. So I could see Kenny Galladay having another good season. You want to talk about the tight ends that you have on your list?
Yeah. So for tight ends, I had Darren Waller, which we've heard Cammy say that he's the best tight end in the league. I got Eric Ebron, which Drama did a real good job last season of using him. And I got Evan Ingram, T.J. Hawkinson, and then Devin Asiasi, which is on the Patriots, who I think Matt is going to key in on because Cam Newton does have that tight out, or what I think it's called, where the tight ends that are open get an extra boost in catching the ball. So I think he's going to take advantage of that this season. So
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at his stats right now. So you look at his abilities, he has the quick draw, and then he has, tight out passers with this ability improve catching prowess of all tight ends who are open on pass plays. So yeah, he's definitely going to benefit tight ends. Now that I see that the superstar abilities of Cam, I don't really think I think it's far fetched for him to sit him, especially a quarterback with superstar abilities. But you don't know with Matt, so
right.
at the end of the day, he goes off the book a lot. When it came to tight ends, I see that me and Drama kind of agreed at the number one tight end. We both did not pick Darren Waller. We both went with Evan Ingram. And I personally went with Evan Ingram because I looked at their offense and knowing Q, I think he really relies on his tight ends and his offensive scheme. He did it a lot last year with Hunter Henry when he was the Chargers. So that's someone I was looking at where I think Q really exploits teams with his tight end play. I don't know why you chose a Drama. If you want to explain to the folks why you think.
Yeah. Well, actually, Evan Ingram, or not Evan Ingram, Derek Waller may have been an oversight, me leaving him off my list, but I had Henry Ruggs up there, and I also know that the Raiders drafted a wide receiver. I can't think of the guy's name right now. So, Darren Waller was an afterthought, but he really has a powerful receiver core down there in Oakland or in Las Vegas. Let me look at the wide receivers. He has Henry Ruggs, Terrell Williams, but he drafted Rondell Moore, 94 overall. Then you got Darren Waller with 90 speed, and he has a rack-em-up ability. So I left Darren Waller off. And the only guy that I had that I think a lot of guys are sleeping on is Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett was a free agent pickup for the Washington football team. If you know anything about the user over there, he loves speedy tight ends, loves getting the ball out, to the tight end. So I think that Gerald Everett, having the type of route running that he has, is going to be, going to make a splash at the tight end position for the Washington football team.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Washington right now, and one guy that I'm on right now is the rookie tight end that he picked up, who's got a ton of athleticism, and I think that's somebody he might end up leaning towards more often as he gets further in the season. But I could see him using Gerald Everett a lot. I could see him going with a lot of heavy sets based on his tight ends. I mean, he has Hayden Hurst, the rookie Brevin Jordan, and then he has Gerald Everett. So he's got a lot of speed at tight end and a lot of options when it comes to that. And you take a look at his wide receivers; he doesn't have much besides Terry McLaurin. So I could see a lot of heavy sets where he's focusing on moving down the field by running the ball and using his tight ends.
Yeah, and it's actually funny because I was trying to get Gerald Everett in free agency, and me and T Bandit kind of kept going back and forth until I ran out of money. So I think he's definitely going to utilize him. But it's interesting that he picked up Raven Jordan in the first round. So, it's your first round pick. I think he's going to definitely use him. Jordan's pretty quick. But he did sign Everett to a 3-year deal. So I think both of them are going to get their kind of get their catches. But it's tough to think that Everett's going to be one of the top guys with all the other talent around him. So it'll be interesting to see that.
Well, another thing too is that Hayden Hurst is on his final year, and I doubt the football team is going to have the money to re-sign him. So I definitely look to Everett and Brevin Jordan to be highly featured in that offense. If you look at his wide receivers, he doesn't really have much besides Terry McLaurin. And if you know anything about the guy who uses the Washington football team in PML, he loves to use those tight ends on streaks, loves to get them out there running post routes. And so, Everett and Brevin Jordan for sure gives him some versatility.
Oh yeah, I really like. The more I look at Jordan specifically, the more I like him. I think it's a really good pick for him, especially like you said, he likes to use his tight ends, so that's gonna be huge for him and his offense. Last thing I want to talk about is the defense. I think we all were unanimous.
If I could, real quick,
Yeah, go ahead.
now before we move on, one more guy that I don't know if I heard you or Fallen mention is Jonnu Smith for the Tennessee Titans.
Nope, neither of
I had
us.
him on my list. Go look at his stats. He had 67 receptions last year, 14 touchdowns. And he was highly featured in that offense in Tennessee. Another guy benefits from having Derrick Henry in the backfield, a lot of play action passes. With that 88 speed, Jonnu Smith gets open, and he's definitely a mismatch against safeties and linebackers. I had Jonnu Smith on my list. In addition to Evan Ingram, Mark Andrews in Baltimore, I actually put Eric Ebron on there from my team, and then Gerald Everett and Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, I think we both had Eric Ebron because from what I noticed from last year's stats, I think he was towards the top when I was looking at receiving. So that's why I had Eric Ebron on there. And also, I'm looking at Jonnu Smith, and you did have a damn good year last year. 67 receptions, 1,400 yards, and then 14 touchdowns. So he's definitely finding the end zone a lot in that Tennessee offense.
Yeah, I actually forgot about Jonnu Smith, which I don't know how I did because I played him twice. But the second time, we played 3 times this season because I ended up winning the playoffs. But Jonnu Smith was heavily targeted in all 3 of the games that we played. I don't know how I missed him, but he's definitely a good choice.
Yeah, I think we all had Eric Ebron on the list. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I did. I ended up putting Asiasi because he was more so of a sleeper pick than Jonnu Smith. So if I didn't put Asiasi there, I would have had Smith on there.
Yeah, exactly. And I had Asiasi myself because from what I noticed, it's the only weapon that Natural had last season besides Demir Bird. So that's kind of why I put him on the list.
Yeah. And I left Cam Newton. I left Asiasi off of my top 5s. Demir Bird was actually, I think, my number 2 wide receiver, and I know Philip Lindsay was my number 1 running back. Because if you look at that New England offense last year, Cam didn't do a lot of passing. There were a lot of games where he threw, 11 for 12 completions, 10 for 10. He didn't do a lot of passing because he was so effective running the ball with Philip Lindsay and that offensive line. And so I'm not sure, with the new weapons he has. I mean, he has young receivers, but he has a lot of speed out there. Not sure how much passing he'll do at all, and when he does, I'm pretty sure he's going to lean still on Demir Bird and those young guys he has.
Yeah, I hear you on that. He doesn't have much to use when it comes to airing it out. So, he's got a couple new wide receivers. And speaking of new rookie wide receivers and new rookie weapons, is there anybody that you would consider a sleeper pick that was drafted in this past draft, that you might look at in the late rounds as somebody that could be a starter maybe midway through the season, through with content points and um, upgrades through play and stuff like that. Is there anybody that you thought about putting on the list that you left off just because you weren't sure if they were going to use them, and who is it and what team and all that?
I think he's actually kind of hinted at this himself because this guy's had a pretty good preseason already. But Tutu Atwell for the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be the featured wide receiver in this offense. He's, overall wise, he's not that high, but he does have 82 catching. But I think he's going to get at least possibly 10 targets a game, especially with the way he's kind of been targeting in preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that he's a top 5 round pick, but I think definitely in the later rounds, he's one to look at.
Yeah, somebody that you could snag late in the draft. I agree.
Right.
Like, I think he's gonna overfeed him as much as he can, given his athletic ability. So I think that's somebody you definitely could look at. One guy that was on my list that I am kind of considering a sleeper, is the Saints. Going to the Saints, their defense, and also I have Alvin Kamara on my list, which nobody else had, and I think with the new Saints user and him being an NAK, natural approved killer, I think we're gonna expect him to run away with that division. Me personally, and I think he's gonna put up big numbers with specifically that running back, and also given his opponents in his division, I think he's gonna cause a lot of turnovers and capitalize on those turnovers. So I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think the sleeper on that Saints team isn't Alvin Kamara. I think it's actually the quarterback. As people who follow PML know Drew Brees retired after the first season, and he went and drafted Trey Lance out of North Dakota State. The guy who had the Saints previously didn't really get much out of Alvin Kamara or Michael Thomas, but I definitely think the way this offense is set up, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara are going to be heavily utilized weapons. And Trey Lance is really going to shine in that spot. 85, speed out at the quarterback position. Also, he went and got Tavon Austin out of free agency, moved him to running back. So at 93 speed out of the backfield, it's going to be a lot of explosiveness on that offense in New Orleans.
Yeah, I think New Orleans is going to be, out of the new users, is going to be the most fun to watch because I've been in the league already, so you've seen me play before, but I don't think anybody's seen this kid play. I don't know if you guys been in league with him or this guy. I mean, if you guys been in league with him or not, I think Natural's the only one that really knows how well he plays. So it's going to be a surprise, and also it's going to be fun to watch to see what happens in the NFC South with that new user.
So I actually played him last week in preseason. And he used Trey Lance for pretty much all of the game, I believe it was. I think he ended up winning by 1 point. And he played pretty well. The only thing that would stop me from picking up Lance is in 3 games of the preseason. Granted, I know it's the preseason, but Lance has 12 interceptions, so he's averaging 4 interceptions a game.
Yeah, he's
so that
definitely
can really
slinging it.
cut down. Yeah, so while he's slinging it, he's got 1,000 yards. He's averaging over 300 a game. He had 7 touchdowns, so averaging at least 2. But those 4 interceptions can bring you from 20 points after your quarterback to, like 10.
Yeah,
So I would just be weary with that.
I actually have 2 sleepers two sleepers that I just wanted to drop on you guys. On offense, I think the sleeper is going to be Jameis Winston. The Indianapolis Colts, Philip Rivers retired after the first season. He went and got Jameis Winston. Philip Rivers balled out his last year. He definitely sent Philip out, on a high horse. But he has Jonathan Taylor out the backfield. He's got T.Y. Hilton. He's got Paris Campbell. He drafted Shot Smith out of South Carolina, 92 speed. So I definitely think we're going to see big things out of Jameis Winston. Hopefully he'll be able to keep the turnovers down. And then my sleeper defense is the Washington football team. With the way that the fantasy league is set up and the way that the points are distributed, this team led the league in turnovers last season, I believe. I may be wrong on that, but I do know that Kendall Fuller and Ronald Darby, not Kendall Fuller, Ronald Darby and Troy Apke were both in the top 7, I believe, in interceptions last year.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at Apke right now. I'm going to take a look at his interceptions. He had 13 last year. I want to see if he returned any for a touchdown. He had two interceptions returned for a touchdown, so he definitely is able to return with them with that 94 speed. I could see why. And then
Ronald Darby had 12 interceptions last season.
Yeah, and Apke actually won Defensive Back of the Year.
Yeah.
It's crazy how he won Defensive Back of the Year, but he's only a 74 overall. I'm surprised he doesn't have, more wasn't added to his overall.
He only got like 3. He got 3480 for winning DB of the Year, but he did go up to star dev.
All right,
I think it's probably because he's 26.
At least he got the star.
If he was younger, he might have got more. Yeah. I think he uses him. I haven't played him, but I think he may use him.
And I'll tell you what happened with me when I played him. I got blew up by the Washington football team. I see a white guy in the secondary, and I scoff at that. But he made me pay for it. I hiked the ball. I see the pale face in the secondary. I'm throwing right at them. So good. It backfired on me last season. I learned my lesson. I played Washington. I'm staying away from that white guy.
Yeah, I have.
Apke actually is 6'1".
Oh yeah, he's good. Yeah. He's got good size to him, and I kind of got somebody like that who's a little older, and I might sing in some content points too. Is Tarvarius Moore. He's a free safety. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, 94 speed, and 92 acceleration. Doesn't have great agility, but a 94 speed at free safety is nothing to scoff at.
Not to cut you off, but Apke really is just a freak athlete. He's got 85 change of direction. He's got 94 agility, 95 acceleration, and just the way that the coach for the football team uses him, he's really like one of those traditional Madden roamers. He can cover three guys with Troy Apke. I mean, he'll jump on the first look, and he'll jump on the God damn it! When you have a guy come across the field, shallow cross, he'll jump on that, then he'll come back and cover the end route, and then he'll go back deep and cover the post with Troy Apke. So he's really troublesome. Yeah, when you're playing against that guy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Oh yeah, he has 94 jumping too.
Crazy.
Bro. Oh, so he gets up there. White boy got jumps.
Again.
White boy got hops.
Yeah, man, he got everything. I guarantee you got a black girlfriend. Nah, I'm messing with you.
Let's go ahead and pull up the mock draft. I know Drama wasn't able to get to one. He kind of joined in late, so I'm not gonna bust him on that. But we'll jump into.
I actually have my mock draft. I just didn't get a chance to send it to you.
All right, perfect. So we'll talk about that. Oh, we kind of skimmed over the defense, but a lot of us we had that Patriots defense first overall. He had one team that I was kind of curious about on your defensive list falling was the Chargers. I was under the assumption that he was more of a offensive guy and he wins his games by outscoring, going blow for blow. But I've never played him or seen him play. So and Drama didn't have him on his list. So I don't know if there's something you see in his game or something specific that made you pick him.
I went more so with the division he's in. So, I think he's going
Hmm.
to win the division handedly again. I mean, I know Cammy had a pretty good season that I think he went 7-9, but I think the Chargers are going to be able to get a lot of interceptions, and I think they're going to get some pick sixes, as well as their defensive line is pretty good, so they're going to get you some sacks. But it mainly goes off of division and their ability to score points on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about the division, and that's a great point that you brought up the division he's in. Kind of the same thing with the Buccaneers. I assume that are on your defense list, just a divisional pick where you know the users that he's gonna go up against, um, as you know 6 times out of the whole season. Um, so you also picked the Dolphins. Now that's somebody I did not pick and I stood away from. You and Drama both picked the Dolphins. I guess when I looked at it, I was looking at the division myself, and I don't know. I never found Mike's defense or user to be that that good, especially in a division like that. But you guys know more than me because I barely seen Geeked play, who's the Bills user, but I know against Nat he probably has his struggles.
Yeah, so King Mike statistically had one of the best defenses last year,
Mm.
so that's kind of where I went with that. I think he held teams to pretty low points. I don't know if he was scoring a lot of points on the defense and running back pick sixes, but I know just based off of daddy leagues, he was statistically one of the highest defenses. I think it was like 1 or 2 overall yardage
Oh, I
wise.
see. Yeah, I did not know
Yeah.
that. Defense, I kind of went with what I knew and what I what I've known before, and I went Patriots, Colts, Lions, Saints, and Vikings. I know the Vikings is on Drama's list, not on Fallen's. Um, but from what I know, Superstar is a solid defensive user, so
Hmm.
that's kind of why I went with that. And obviously with the Lions, with Cookie Boy, I know when he wants to clamp up, he can clamp up with the best of them. Saints was kind of a sleeper kind of defense pick, given his division that he's in, but he does have to go up against D Lloyd twice a season, and then the Colts. Who was the Colts again? I'm trying to think.
Papa
Rob.
Green.
Papa
Rob.
Green.
I forgot
No,
why I
he's the
chose the
Titans.
Colts. I think
Yeah,
it
Rob's
might.
the Titans and Papa Greeny's the Colts.
Okay. I'm trying to think of why I chose the Colts. I'm kind of confused with why I did that.
Just repping.
I have no clue why I choose the Colts. Like I did this list like a couple of days ago, and I'm trying to think of why I chose the Colts right now. But yeah, I guess that's the one pick I kind of say I don't really think I could go with that. I see you put your
Yeah,
defense up there, drama on your list.
Yeah,
Do you want
yeah.
to
I
talk
wanted
about
to
your
actually
defense?
talk about that. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. The teams I had on defense was the Patriots, Dolphins, Steelers, Vikings, and football team. And I think after the first season, I took an approach that didn't work out, offensively and defensively. And so having turning the offense over to Gardner Minshew, I'm gonna have to really rely on my defense. I think with the off season that I had, I made some adjustments on my team, and I know the way that I'm gonna have to play on defense and the way I'm gonna have to play on offense in order to be successful. And we're gonna try to play lockdown defense. Man. We're not gonna try to be too versatile. I'm not gonna try to do too much, extra stuff. I'm just gonna play football, play to the strengths of my team, and by doing that, I think I'm gonna really lock some guys down. Hoping I'll be able to lock some guys down.
Yeah, and based on your division, from what I know, um, it's when you play HD. I don't know if he's still as error prone as he was last year with throwing interceptions and stuff like that. I mean, I know
yeah, he is.
he could hang with the offense with the best of them. Like he's got a really strong offensive game, um, but I don't know about his ability to throw, well, not ability, but his downfall of throwing interceptions. I don't know if it's the same, and I think you said it is.
Yeah, I played him last year. He threw a bunch of interceptions, but he could be different this year. He may try to run the ball a little more. But I believe he got blown out in the playoffs because of turnovers.
What was that? What was that? I thought there was a dog barking for a second. I'm gonna talk about my mock draft. We're gonna move on to the mock draft real quick. So I got Philip Lindsay going first overall. A little different from your list. I think you had Jonathan Taylor, but I got Philip Lindsay, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Henry Ruggs III, Tyreek Hill, Justin Herbert, Evan Ingram, Derrick Henry, Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford, Keenan Allen, Alvin Kamara, Lamar Jackson, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Terry McLaurin, and surprisingly, in the top 20, I put the Patriots defense. Then I got Will Fuller the fifth, Saquon Barkley, and Derek Carr. I know on a normal fantasy draft, you would not put a defense there, but based on, I think there's a big gap in defenses, and I think the Patriots defense is the top of the top, and I think you could get a lot of points, especially on weeks where he's not playing those tough divisional opponents. So I think on those weeks you could get a lot of points from that Patriots defense. That's kind of why I had him in the top 20. Any other questions you have about my list, or do you want to just roll into your list?
I was actually pretty shocked to hear you got Baker Mayfield, unless I missed one, as the first quarterback being taken? And in the top 10?
Nope, second quarterback being taken and in the top 10. So basically,
I'm curious of your thought process.
So my thought process on that is, I know the Browns play terrible defense, and I know the only way he can compete is if he's throwing the ball and, doing his best on the offensive side. So that's kind of why I had Baker Mayfield. I wasn't really thinking about the interceptions and stuff like that. Hence why I didn't have any AFC North defenses on my defensive list. I wasn't thinking about anything like that. I feel like that whole division was a offense first type of division with a lot of high scoring games, just looking at the names. So that's like me, I'm coming in fresh. I don't know how anybody's performing in Madden 21. So this is kind of me trying to put put pieces of a puzzle together. So you guys kind of have the upper hand on me. You guys seen it firsthand in the first season. So that's basically my thought process on that, is he's going to have to score a lot to compete in games.
No, it's a good point. I think he's going to get bogged down by interceptions. He threw 42 interceptions last season to only 34 touchdowns and 4,700 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good thought though.
Yes.
And then I can lead into my mock draft.
Yeah, go ahead if you want to read it off.
Sure. So I had at number 1 Jonathan Taylor, and then Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Henry Ruggs, Will Fuller, Tyreek Hill, Kenny Galladay, Philip Lindsay, Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara. Then I had Deshaun Watson, Marquise Brown, Aaron Jones, Todd Gurley, Darren Waller, Jalen Waddle, and Rondale Moore.
Yes.
To round off my top 20.
I see you had a couple of rookies to round off, and I noticed you went heavy on the running backs. And I kind of get it because PML is a running back heavy type of league where you got a lot of running backs putting up big numbers. One guy I have a question about is Aaron Jones. I don't know much about the Green Bay user, but from what I know, is there a new user? Is it the same user? And what can you tell me about Green Bay and why you picked Aaron Jones?
So no, it's the same user. So, and this goes in real life too. I'm huge, especially because I play PPR in real life. I'm huge on running backs that can catch the ball. And given Aaron Jones had pretty good production at 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns running the ball, but catching the ball, he had 82 catches and 744 yards. So he definitely gets his targets in the passing game. So that's kind of where I was going with your mid second round. So you kind of want players that are going to be out there for 3 downs. I think Aaron Jones is definitely one of them.
Oh yeah, especially with a PPR league, I could see what you're getting at there. Any questions you had, Drama, about either of our lists?
No, I see where you guys are coming from. I'm gonna read off my list because for me it's been a while since I've actually done fantasy football.
Yeah.
So I think the way I structure my list, from what I remember, when you go to draft, if you're later on in the rounds, we're doing a snake draft, right? So it's 1 to 10, then 10 to 1.
So,
So
before you read off your list, what I'm looking for is just your top 20 to go. This is not just for you. For you, I don't want you to give out what you're thinking about, like who's gonna fall to you. I just want the top 20 of the first 20 picks that are gonna be coming off the board.
Oh yeah, that's okay. So this is the first 20 picks I got. I got Phillip Lindsay, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Lamar Jackson, Sean Watson, Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, Tua Tagovailoa, Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, Jameer Byrd, Will Fuller, DeAndre Swift, Henry Ruggs, Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, Cam Newton, and Amari Cooper. I think I might have went over 20. I was just fucking writing.
Yeah, that's fine. But from what I noticed, you went a lot of quarterbacks, and Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I assume he's on your list of top 5, but you didn't have him going high in the draft. Is that somebody that you think is you had him on your list because he's a sleeper, and you think people are just gonna pass on him? Like so far, me and Fallen are passing on him. So you think that's somebody that's gonna go later in the draft, but is definitely a sleeper pick?
Yeah, so this is what I was imagining. Seeing the PML is a run-heavy league, I figured the first few draft picks would be the top running backs.
Yeah.
And those guys towards the end of the first round will say, well, damn, those top-tier running back guys are gone. Let me go ahead and grab a quarterback. Once the first guy grabs a quarterback, next guy's going to say, well, shit, let me get my quarterback. And then you'll have a run of quarterbacks from the end of the first round, and then you'll go back to running backs, and then it'll come to those guys who picked early in the first round. They've got a running back, and they're going to go, all right, let me get a quarterback. That's where I have Joe Burrow. I'm going to have Joe Burrow being the last quarterback drafted in the first 2 rounds. And then the top of the second round top of the
third round.
Third round is going to be one of the receivers, Jameer Byrd, Will Fuller, DeAndre Swift, and then it'll go like that.
I get what you're saying on that. Speaking of the draft too, I got the draft order. I don't have it on the spreadsheet, but I'm gonna read it off quick. So pick 1 is actually gonna be Byrne. He's gonna lead off the draft. Then it's gonna be LQ Noble. After that, it will be Natural. Then it will be FKJNP. Then we'll have Mali Rojo, and then it's gonna be Fallen. Then myself. Then it's gonna be Geeked, and then pick 9 is actually gonna be Drama, and then the last pick is going to be Q. So that's gonna be the 10. I am gonna post that in the PML fantasy chat for everybody to see. But that's gonna be the 10 picks, and then obviously second round is gonna go opposite. So second round is gonna lead off with Q, and then go to Drama, and so on and so forth. But that's gonna be the draft order. Also, I got a schedule that was randomized. So basically, you're gonna face your division or your conference. So we got the AFC and we got the NFC. It worked out perfectly because we got 5 AFC users in this league, and then we got 5 NFC users in this league from PML. So the NFC guys are going to go up against each other, and the AFC guys are going to go up against each other, basically because a lot of people are going to shy away from picking AFC AFC players if they're in the AFC, because there's going to be games where you're going to have to sit those players. So there's more of a chance of drafting an NFC player just because you'll have more of a chance to play that NFC player and not worry about having to sit them. So that's basically where I got that. And so I got a whole schedule. I don't know if you have the stream up, but I have the whole schedule here. It's going to go to week 13, and then after that, it's going to be the playoffs. And then when the playoffs comes, we'll worry about how we're going to handle that, how many teams are going to make it, and stuff like that. But that's basically what we're going to do. The draft is at 9:30. We're already 9:03. We've been at this for almost an hour, so I think we're going to wrap it up. Anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to just suggest, I know last year when you guys did this, you did it like a pickup style, and every week guys were rewarded. And maybe is there a way we could, roll that into this one where whoever has the highest points at the end of every week maybe gets a content point. That way there's opportunity for everybody to gain points throughout the duration. And then, of course, you have the big payoff in the end with who wins the conference and who wins the championship.
Yeah, so we're close to regular season, and I think we still got time. I'm going to actually, after we're done with this, and maybe after we're done with the draft, I'll get into JT's DMs and talk to him about that. Add in a few things. Maybe at the end of the season, you get a point for the most points, and also every week, if you have the most points that week, you get a point, a content point, and stuff like that. Maybe that's something we could definitely talk to JT about. But that's pretty much gonna wrap it. Fallen, you got anything to add?
No, I think it's going to be real interesting. I thought it was interesting just about your guys' list that you forgot about Christian McCaffrey. Maybe you weren't looking at his stats, and I know he's on JT's team. But McCaffrey actually I think he was one of the only running backs that had 1,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard receiver.
Well, he's got 36 running backs.
Yeah, that's what I'm
that's
saying.
true.
Like,
That's a good point.
drafted Najee Harris and got Stephen Campbell. Like, I don't know what the hell JT.
That boy needs to see a therapist. He needs to have a sit down, like an AA meeting, and really talk about his love for running backs and linebackers and stuff like that. He's hurting the Panthers by keep drafting like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got 9 running backs on your team. But I mean, when you got a 99 overall running back, like, hey, use him.
Crazy as hell. And he somehow still under the cap. We don't even know where the cap is.
Oh, jeez.
I know.
Yeah, it's nuts how many.
No, but this was fun. I hope it helped everybody that is drafting tonight. I hope if you were kind of at a loss on who you should pick or whatnot, I hope kind of our mock drafts and our top 5 helps everybody out, and good luck to everybody. It'll be a fun season.
Yeah, and I think one thing I wanted to add is I think I'm going to have a special guest every week from the league. Just another chance for people to earn points being a part of this league. I know me and Fallen are going to do most of the bulk work, putting in stats and all that good stuff. But it would be nice to get members of the PML Fantasy League to hop on and talk about their team and stuff like that, so they could get some extra points, and also explain their thought process when they're looking at the fantasy.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So that's pretty much going to do it for us. It was a pleasure, having you guys on. Fallen, I'll be with you all season. Drama will probably have you on again later on in the season. We're going to give everybody their fair share. And that's pretty much going to do it. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and I hope you keep watching.